Kyle here from All Media Reviews, here to do another Kevin Gilbert Thud Tracks video. This is number 8, I believe. My count is not, my count is correct. And so I'm doing the track, the 8th track, Shrug, parentheses, because of me and you. It's because of me and you. So the origin of this song is different than every other track on Thud. But I'm counting basically 4 versions, which doesn't seem like a lot, but 4? Well, okay, so there's the standard version on Thud. I pulled up one of my CDs today. I didn't grab the vinyl. Track number 8, there's that version. That version is the standard, it's like 4 or something? Where was it, the timing on this? 'Cause my notes are never perfect here. Because I have the other one of the other versions first, and I wrote a lot of notes down. There it is. It's 3:53, so it's a pretty short song. So 3:53 on that version. So then there's the Thud Alternate version, which is track, where is it? Track number 8 also. Just because of me and you, mix 1. That version that came out just a few months ago, as I said. So then there's the, in effect, 3. So actually there's 5. There's 3 versions of not Shrug because of me and you, but because of you. So there's the demo, which is because of you, on the anniversary from 2015, the 20th anniversary. And it's a demo. I didn't tell the time on it. The mix one is 3:56, so it's only 3 seconds different. But the demo, the because of you, it's not because of me and you, because of you demo, it's 4:38 on here. And then, of course, there's the original version, where this song came from, was derived from, and I didn't do the research about Robert Ferris. I can't remember if he was involved in this one. The Robert Ferris stuff is something that I should know more religiously, and I've done research, but I mean, I memorized it all, certain songs. I know Big Heart, which I'm going to talk about in another video, was written by him. But there's the song Because of You off of the Giraffe debut album, The Power of Suggestion. And then also on this, there's the Because of You / 11th hour mix. The Because of You track that Giraffe did is 5 minutes and 5 seconds, but the Because of You 11th hour mix, which is, I think, on every version, or at least every release version I've seen, has that on the track number 12, it's 9 minutes and 20 seconds. It's Because of You, Her Heart is a Quick Drum, really. So I'm going to get into more details about that, of course, in a minute. But I'm first just going to talk about, I'll talk about the version, the song Shrug, because of me and you. It's always been a song I like, but I'll say that it's a song that, like a lot of songs, it's stripped down and it's slower. It's very much of slower. I don't think it's slower in a bad way necessarily. I'm on the Tears of Audrey here. But, yeah, it's... Am I looking at the right one again? No, I'm not. Yeah, because I did the giraffe stuff first, and that was a mistake on my part. Trying to follow my notes here. There it is. Okay, so slow tempo. It starts out with drums and keys, but it's very laid back, sleepy. There's a number of songs on here like versions, like the acoustic. It sounds like it would fit well on the acoustic, the Thud acoustic actually, but there's not a version on there. It's like, I mean, I'll say this, I've always liked it, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, it didn't have quite as much as some of the songs on here, even after getting into Thud for many times. But I know I'd known, like, because I didn't know Giraffe nearly as well as when at the point that I heard this and heard that track. In fact, I hadn't even heard it. But, getting to learn, and I understood that this is the same song redone. It's really like it's taking the Giraffe song Because of You and flipping it on its side, really. There's a lot of sustained guitar chords, and there's like that ring out. Kevin at one point does some like what sounds like whispering. because of me and you. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of like, it's like telling a story, and it's like a reprise or a coda. This is the coda, which is kind of coming down. It really is a relaxed track. I mean, it's nice. I mean, and some of the lyrics aren't identical, but that's obviously a lot of the lyrics are the same, and that's why it really, a couple of years ago, it hit me when I was talking about the Kevin albums. Like, this so much is the remake of that song, but it never. They sound like two different songs in a lot of ways, musically especially. But I mean, I don't know if it's entirely in the same key. And you know, so all right. So that's my shtick, my take on the standard. So I'm just gonna do, yeah, I guess I did this in the way I listened to it. So then comparing that, the version that's the closest to the standard is the one on the alternate. Go figure. And let's see here. It's slower. It's like, but it's a little bit faster. It's still a slower version compared to the giraffe versions in the demo, but it's still faster than the standard version of Thud, on the one that's on here. And it sounds like the guitars are a little higher they're a little higher in the mix, and they're cleaner. That's pretty much the difference. I noticed more emphasis on synths. It's really like a different mix. I mean, it's a different mix and a different mixing of some of the parts. But from an arrangement standpoint and a style standpoint, the tempo is, like I said, the tempo is still slow. It's not maybe quite as slow, but it's still slow. It's more slow and like methodical to an extent. And again, the length's only 3 more seconds, so it's a different mix. That's what it's mix 1. So, all right. So moving on to what is the 3 versions of the origin of this track. So, you know, this is not a Thud track, of course, but it's still related enough, you know, because it's related. I figured it would be worth talking about and comparing. I've always, after getting into Giraffe here and there, and then it still, when they put out those rematches in that box set a couple years ago, it made me reassess Giraffe again. And Because of You, the song, versus because Shrug, Because of Me and You, but Because of You has become one of my favorite tracks. When I did that ranking of songs, was like a little over a year ago, I want to say it was in the top 10. It probably should have been if it wasn't. It's one of the catchiest songs Kevin Gilbert was ever involved with. So it starts off with keys and bass, unlike the sort of slow, like acoustic element of the version, and it's a much faster tempo. And then he repeats stuff. I don't know what to say, and I don't know where to go, which is weird. That's almost like Fiacra's Infinite Loops. I always thought that song was like a sequel to like Shadow Self, but it almost like a sequel of something Kevin wrote. I don't know what to say. I don't know where to go. The piano is really featured in it. That's one of the reasons I really like it. And there's like beds of synths. Kevin's vocals, of course, that's one of the most distinct differences between Because of You and Shrug, Because of Me and You, is his vocal range. He was singing at a higher range. And as I came to learn some of those KG archives, he could have sang at a lower range at the point. He was like 20, whenever this came out, and it says 87. He probably recorded in like 86 or 87, but it was really came out in 88. But whatever, he was 21 at that point, 20 or 21. He had the capabilities of singing at his more comfortable range we would hear later on Toy Matinee and Standard Thud and Shaming. But, so okay, there's things about it that are still not necessarily bad things, but different. It has more of an 80s production, and, again, a lot of synths and piano. And then, of course, yeah, I haven't mentioned yet. It was known as the Da-Dee-Do-Da-Dee-Do song, or Da-Dee-Do-Da song. Kevin mentioned many times in interviews, and that chorus, that pop chorus, adds to like that's the biggest hook on the song, and it's repeated many times throughout the song, and it's just, you know, that alone is different between what he later would do on the version known as Shrug, Because of Me and You. There's some cowbell during the chorus, and then he uses that whistle patch, which he used on many songs, like on Call Me Kai, and I want to say even on, might have been on some NRG stuff, but a lot of Giraffe stuff has that whistle patch, so that, you know, Because of You is no exception. So So then the lyrics, well, there's definitely, I didn't write all the different lyrics as down, different in the lyrics on Shrug, Because of Me and You, and Because of You, but one distinct difference I did write down is the line, I made this transition, he uses, I made this transition to live with omission, but on Shrug, Because of Me and You, he says, love is a decision to put away your ammunition. I know he sings at a different like pace or tempo too, but that was, I didn't even realize that part. And then he does use the line, and every deal has its strings, but it's different because he says on the different on the same on the Shrug, the Thud version, but after the line, only the dumb bee stings, he says, we'll see what tomorrow brings. He used the last line on Shrug from Thud is, just, and only the dumb bee stings. That's the line is always, it's like for many years has resonated with me, but he on Because of You, he adds the line. The line is added, and he removed in effect. We'll see what tomorrow brings. So also on the version on Because of You, there's heavier, like 80s hard rock guitar riffs. It's probably Stan Cody. And there's a lot of repeated vocals. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And then, yes, and then at the very end, because this album has several samples. But it just kind of occurred to me today. The sample, some voiceover. I don't know what's from. You have to look and see. It's probably mentioned in reference in here. It's every day I am feeling some gentleman saying in something. I don't know. It was like Twilight Zone or something, or some movie. Or every day I'm feeling a little more optimistic, and my subconscious mind is ready to receive suggestions. The album is called The Power of Suggestion, so that's maybe where they got the title. So that, I mean, have I ever caught that before? I probably have, but it just kind of reminded me. It's like, oh yeah, that's likely where they got the title The Power of Suggestion, from wherever they took this from. All right, so moving on to the other version on here, the 11th hour mix, which I've heard a fraction of the number of times even of Because of You. And of course I've heard Because of You, some live versions on the DVDs, but that came in the box set. This is it's 11th hour mix, Her Heart is a Quick Drum. So Her Heart is a Quick Drum is a line from the track This Warm Night, which is also on The Power of Suggestion here. And it's interesting how This Warm Night and Because of You were like the two songs they were unsure they were going to use in the the Yamaha band competition. Kevin was like talking to some interview, and it's like, well, we're not sure which one we'd like to use. We have to play one to play for the competition because they're both like they have different appeals but equally appealing potentially. They did a video for This One Night, of course. But so it really is okay. So this is 9 minutes and 20 seconds, and it's really like a dance remix mix of parts of the two of them, but there's more to it. The very beginning of it, though, there's another voiceover, and it says, it's like an answer machine kind of thing or something. It says, or the time is or like something from a clock. The time is 4:04. It sounds like it's clock, but actually, I believe that's referring to the time signature. The time is 4:04. I could be wrong, but I never, it really occurred to me though. So then there's this little acapella part, the little hook that's added on it, da dee do do, da dee da da do do, da dee do, and it goes into this heavy guitar riff which lasts for a while. I mean, then you start to hear parts of This Warm Night mixed in, and I wrote like way too many notes about this, but let's see here. Like a dance remix, follow directions, and okay, so there's a voiceover. Following directions in a manual, you will find yourself dancing immediately. That's interlaced with some of the parts, some of the rhythms, some of the vocal parts from Because of You and from This Warm Night. There's parts where Kevin's vocals are very distorted in the first verse. They add part of the first verse, and then it very much becomes like a club remix, dance remix. That you'd hear, like on those 12-inch singles around, especially that were big in the 80s, and they were common in the 90s too. Dance remix, you get a 12, and you have the song, then you have almost endless number of remixes on some of those. it very much sounds like something that was intended, they thought could be used or played in a club, or at least is the style of a club song. Even the bass and guitar has like a funk element. And then there's a guitar solo that's kind of long, because again, this was, for a club dance song, 9 minutes and 26 seconds, that's perfectly fine. That's probably short, actually. So the second verse, they add This Warm Nights. Kevin's vocals are processed, that Her Heart is a Quick Drum. And then there's a hollow sounding, vocal process, hollow sounding like it's being played through a tube over some guitar riffs. And then the line "Dance Together" is added in there. Dance intention. And I don't know what, yeah, so he repeats that, I don't know what to do, and he's singing, he's yelling it out almost. It's all because of you. It's isolated with percussion. More processed vocals, almost like something that you'd hear from either like a Tom Stolby or Bronski beat, or even Daft Punk. It very much has that Daft Punk, I mean, granted, Daft Punk didn't exist at this point, but with like the voice tube, vocoder, you know, almost like auto-tune, not auto-tune exactly, but it's in that same element, same kind of approach. There's a lot of sections without vocals, and then vocals come in, "'Cause You Are the Desert." Yeah, I mean, different lines from both "Because of You" and "This Warm Night." Then some spacey desert sounds. Now, this is the other thing I had not noticed probably before today. It eventually leads to a bed of synths that pretty much is the beginning of Image Maker. And Image Maker, of course, is a version on here, although I kind of thought it reminded me more of the version on Shaming, but there are differences and there's similarities in those two versions. That da 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 or da na na na, the beginning of Image Maker. So I'm not surprised, but I did not realize that they put part of Image Maker in here. And then the Dottie Dodo comes back. They use that with like electronic snare drums. And then he takes that line. He uses that line. They put in the line. They made this transition. Every deal has its strings. Includes very fat, dark synths. After Tomorrow Brings, the chorus from This Warm Night comes in. My Heart Is. So it's really interlacing the two. Let's see. Yeah. Sample comes back. You will find yourself dancing almost immediately again. It's a narrative sample. Repeated with more dissonant synths over a bed of synths. Like the line from This Warm Night. All right. So I feel like there's one that I'm not remembering. Oh yes, of course, the demo. So this is the one that I know probably the least, because I've listened to that version on the Power of Suggestions many times, but I still know Because of You, the song, because that was on the compilation I bought initially too, back 15 years ago. The first Giraffe music I really heard. So there's a demo version that's just short. It's only 4 minutes and 38 seconds, so it's shorter than the Giraffe version, but of Because of You. But it's actually Because of You, not Shrug, Because of Me and You, on here. And the thing that most stands out about it is Because of You. It's like Kevin re-recording Because of You, but in his vocal range and his style. It sounds like if he was recording it in some ways for Thud, which Shrug became part of Thud. But if it was Because of You, like if Giraffe had never written that or something like that, but he had the song, he's like, I'm gonna record it for this album. It sounds like the Thud version of Kevin singing the Giraffe song, or if Giraffe did a reunion, like not the thing at the Prague Fest, but they did a reunion where they did their own songs. They did Because of You. This is how it would sound. It's, for some people, maybe it's not quite as distinct, but to me, there is a distinct difference on the way Kevin sounds, even though, Giraffe, he sounded a little deeper than even on NRG and some of the Call Me Kai stuff. There's still a difference between the way he sounds on these two albums. Even Toy Matinee, I'd say Toy Matinee was closer to the way he sounded on Thud, of course. But, beyond that, it's interesting to hear. He adds that line, know that each drop falls in line. He adds that toward the end. He also sings, oh yeah, that's the part of it. He sings a part a little slower, quieter. I made this transition. I wrote that wrong. And if it causes you tension, is more yelled scream. Like he starts yelling some of those parts that weren't really yelled in, or weren't yelled obviously on Thud on the Shrug, but we're also not yelled on the Because of You on the Giraffe version. So yeah, I mean it's all because of you. He sings out, screams, and repeats. Hey, he's like toward the end. He does it in a lot of songs like that. I'm discovering. Yeah, and some of the guitar riffs sound like. They don't sound like either version from Thud or either Shrug. They sound like the Giraffe. So the guitar riffs are pretty similar. Although, I think if you compare the guitar riff on the demo to Power of Suggestion, that heavy sort of 80s sounding power chordy riff, that hard rock riff, there's still a difference. It's not dramatic. I'm not sure, who played. If the credits are in there. Who played the guitar on because it recorded in '92, song title changed to Shrug Because of Me and You. Yeah, of course we know that, but I don't know if it was Stan Cody or someone else. It was Kevin himself, but so yeah, I mean Shrug because of Me and You / Because of You. I mean, I think I still have a more of a connection, love, appreciation overall for the version on here, just because it's a more energetic, catchy, memorable, poppy, addictive song. I don't dislike, obviously, the version on here, Shrug, but it's just Shrug. It's like Tears of Audrey or T for One in some way. It's slower. And you could say it's sort of a ballad, but to me it's like, it really is like taking this version and just like adding on a coda and like repeating it much slower, or like an unplugged version maybe in some ways. But if you listen to the two songs and you didn't know either of them, you would say that these are totally different songs. It didn't initially like occur to me, well, that's the same song that's on Thud, because I'd heard Shrug first, because it's such a slower piece and it doesn't stand out as much as some of the songs on here. It's still a decent song, but when I got more into Because of You, I think I've learned to appreciate it more, but I also learned to kind of conclude that this is the one I prefer. But I'll say that, that dance, the 11th hour mix, in some ways I prefer more because it's so much longer, and I love that when you get good remixes. The demo, I think I probably need to listen to more, because I really appreciate Kevin's vocals more. So that's kind of like taking the preferred vocal time frame with the preferred version. I mean, it's not identical to the Giraffe version, obviously. There isn't like piano on it and stuff, I don't think. Yeah, it's that demo is maybe a little untapped for me for being a fanatic lifer Kevin Gilbert fan. So that's Shrug Because of You. What's your take on that song? I'll link, of course, the Spotify standard version. So next up, I got two more to finish on the standard track list of Thud. All Fall Down, which I could be wrong. I think there's a version on Call Me Kai that I'm going to have to go back to. Either Call Me Kai or one of the Giraffe albums. I forget. No, it's not on that one. But I have here. Yeah, there's a version on The View From Here, the second Giraffe album, which I believe will be the 25 or 35 year anniversary in a few weeks, first week of April. But then there's the 20th anniversary Toto version of All Fall Down, and then an alt horn mix. So there's two versions on here. So we got, looks like 4, including one Giraffe. So I don't think there's one on. Yeah, oh no, the alt horn mix is actually on alternate. I don't think there's one on acoustic. The only one on acoustic I haven't done a video about is Song for Dead Friend, which will be the last standard one, would be the one after that. So, oops. But one more, I'm gonna add this in. I didn't really talk about the subject matter of Shrug and Because of Me and You. It to me is like it's like a romantic ballad, like sort of like a failed romantic relationship in some ways. It's only all because of you. It's like, it's very romantic, and our love is going away. Some of the lyrics to me, I mean, a lot of his lyrics, but yeah, I mean, it's Shrug. He added the Shrug part. It's like maybe it's the aftermath of a failed relationship. I don't know if he if that was the whole, if that was involved with some, like when he was with Cheryl or a different relationship, or I don't know. I could be wrong on that, but I think of it sometimes when I think of relationships, some just stuff that with my wife and everything, that we sometimes, like, our love has gone away, and that line about only the dumb bee stings, is very much of, like, it's like a habit, like you can't help it, like it's in your nature, even though part of you realizes that you don't want to do this, you don't want to say certain things or do certain things, or you may regret doing certain things, or regret not doing certain things, or saying certain things. Some of it is, some of it is just something you can't do about it. That's that line, only the dumb bee stings, because if the bee stings, well, it's a defense mechanism, as far as I know. In most cases, when bees sting, they die. But then I like the way on the giraffe, because of you, he says, we'll see what tomorrow brings. So we don't really know. But on Shrug, it's sort of like only the dumb bee stings. So that's what happened. And I'm sorry, but we couldn't do anything about it. It's almost like that like fable or whatever, where you have the frog and, is it like the spider or something like that, trying to cross the river. The spider can't cross the river, so it wants to ride on the back of the frog, and the fright. I think this is it. I could be wrong on the different animals involved in the story, but the deal is that the spider and the frog are friends, or sort of friends. They have mutual reasons to be together. I think it was a frog, but the spider can't get across the river because it can't be in the water, I guess. But the agreement is, I'll ride across on your back. I won't get wet, and I promise I won't bite you. And what ends up happening in the story is the spider still ends up biting the frog because it's in its nature. That's sort of what I think of that line, that only the dumb bee stings. But that's a great lyrical song. I could do another video just on the giraffe. Maybe when I talk about, if I have time, Power of Suggestion, when I'm doing, it's probably going to be 88, because to me I've concluded that it was a 1988 album, not a 1987 album, even though it says 87 on the CD. Maybe I'll try to go into a little bit more depth on, what I really get from those lyrics. Not only is Because of You a great song musically, melodically, it's also a great song lyrically. It's like it's almost like Kevin really finding his way both on the sense of music and lyrics. But anyway, so yeah, I'll have to put this in there. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.